I think the other thing too, if you don't, you'll never know what you could have become.
You got to step out to find out.
Yeah, otherwise I think, man, life goes fast. I don't want to look back, because there was a time when my dad passed, I thought I was supposed to take the church, but I have brothers-in-law that were good pastors, and my sister and this, and I thought, well, you know what, they're more experienced than me, but there are these destiny moments where I thought, you know what, Joel, you feel this. If you don't take this step of faith, you're going to go 20 years down the road and never know.
As we sit here, we're ahead of the event by, about 3 weeks. We wanted to come here and give everybody a little bit of a heads up, and to be able to come. While we're doing this, TBN is celebrating a big event next year, which is our 50th year anniversary. Wow. So of our first broadcast. And so there's a lot going on back at our facility in Southern California. And in one of the conference rooms, there's about 5 million pictures all sitting out, we're kind of knocking through them. And a phrase kind of came to me the other day of how do you do the impossible? How do you do things that you're afraid to do? Mm-hmm. And if you think of what Moses did, the only way to do the impossible is to respond to the voice of God.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing what you believe God's told you to do, then that's the only way you can do the impossible.
That's
so
exactly right.
That's how you're doing your thing.
I love that, and you've seen it through your parents. I think about what it was Abraham. He went out not knowing, meaning that God doesn't give you all the details. Yeah. So I think you can reason yourself, but we can all talk ourselves out of doing something. I can think about the expense, this, that, but you have to get past that. And I think that's part of that leaning not to your own understanding. Yeah. I think you use wisdom, but I believe there are also some destiny moments that, like Esther, you raised up for such a time. I think we all face these destiny moments to say, you know what, I'm going to move forward in my faith. This is what I feel like God's called me to do. And I think sometimes we think, well, what if I miss it? What if I'm wrong? What if I come and nobody's here? But you know what? God's merciful. We're all going to miss it. Yeah, TBN's here. But I think that, you can't let fear hold you back. Victoria, you talk about that thing, stepping over the line of fear. But I think it's, you know what? You don't know all the details. I was reading a passage the other day, and it was interesting. It's in the Old Testament. I can't remember what it was, but God gave all the details. He said, go here, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And I thought, man, God, I wish you'd do that for us now, because they told him. And even that time in the New Testament, I've spoken on that, where they said, go, you'll find a donkey, and you'll find some buckets, and you'll find this upper room. Sometimes, but the majority of the time, God doesn't give us the details, yet He has them. But that's what takes faith, to say, you know what, I heard this, the Yankees called, they said they want us to come. Let's go, y'all. I don't know all the details, so I think it's important, don't get stuck in it.
But you had peace.
I had peace.
People are out there right now going, well, I don't know. How do I know? Well, it's a normal thing to doubt. That's a normal human emotion. But, God gives you a supernatural peace when something is right. And you had a peace. Every step we've ever taken, there was a peace that was resided. Yes. And I think that's how people would know, is they know that, something's exciting and you get ready to do it, but go back and pray. And do you have a peace? You don't have to know everything to have a peace. And I think that's how God leads us. And so we had a real peace about this.
Yes, I had a peace. There's not saying you're not going to have uncertainty, but that peace, I think, past that, because your mind goes to work. So I'm not saying I thought, oh yeah, this is just light, but like Victoria said, you have that deep down. I felt good about it. Yeah. Wow. My mind kept telling me, I don't know, Joel. Same thing when I stepped up to pastor the church. Everything in my mind said, you don't have the experience, you're not qualified, you hadn't been here 40 years like your dad. But down in here, I just knew. I thought, no, I feel it down in here. And I think that's kind of the same thing. We can all reason ourselves out of it, but you go down, like Victoria said, you listen to your heart, your spirit. And it doesn't mean you won't feel fear or feel some anxiety or feel some, uncertainty, but I'm sure the people of old did as well. I'm sure David, probably felt something a little bit when he ran.
Emotion, that's a human emotion, but then God can surpass that. He says, I'll give you peace that passes understanding. Mm-hmm. You cannot wrap your head around peace when you feel the peace of God, and it passes all the doubt. So I think that's how people can know, and the second thing is, there's many times that we've stepped out in faith, and you do it in faith, right? Because if you don't know what's going to happen, if you know what's going to happen, you don't need God, right? So it's a stepping out in faith. But then you have to take it a step further. God, I'm doing this because I believe that you've given me this peace. But God, I know if you haven't, you're gonna carry me through to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people, you know, it's like God is always, He's our safety net.
Yeah.
And if you think you know the right thing and it didn't work out, because there's people out there that are going, well, it didn't work out for me, Joel, you know, but God always has, if you'll follow Him, everything is a learning and an experience.
Yeah.
So you have more experience with God. You've learned, okay, maybe that wasn't, you know. So, I mean, we're not trying to simplify anything or dumb it down or make it sound so easy. But there is something that God gives you that you can start with, and that is the peace of God to make these decisions.
I think the other thing, Matt, you're talking about doing the impossible. God puts things in all of our lives on purpose that we can't do on our own.
Right.
You know, that way you have to trust Him, like you said, Victoria. If you knew how it's all going to work, it wouldn't take any faith. So I think that's a normal feeling to think, maybe I don't have the money, maybe I don't have the experience, maybe I can't get up there and minister. That's just normal. I believe this, God has equipped you with everything you need. God wouldn't give you the opportunity if He didn't give you the ability to do it. Right. That's where I think you have to trust and move forward in faith. I'm not saying you're going to feel like you have it, but you know, you move forward, and that's when you see God show out in your life and open up Yankee Stadiums or compact centers or TBN with all those stations. I mean, these are steps of faith, like Abraham going out not knowing, but God, I trust you. You didn't give me the details, but I believe I'm doing the right thing. And I believe when you take those steps, who knows where God will take you? Because I think the other thing too, if you don't, you'll never know what you could have become.
You got to step out to find out.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think, man, life goes fast. I don't want to look back, because there was a time when my dad passed, you know, I thought I'm supposed to take the church, but you know, I have brothers-in-law that were good pastors, and my sister and this, and I thought, well, you know what? They're more experienced than me, but there are these destiny moments where I thought, you know what, Joel, you feel this. If you don't take this step of faith, you're going to go 20 years down the road and never know. I went up to the hospital, and the nurses stopped me in the hall. They said, Joel, we've never seen your dad so proud. He's just beaming with joy. He got to hear me preach my first sermon. Little did I know that would be the last Sunday of my father's life. That next Saturday, he had a heart attack and went to be with the Lord. And, you know, after we got past the shock of it, 2 or 3 days later, I felt that same desire to step up and pastor the church. In the natural, it didn't make any sense. I'd only spoken publicly one time. I'd never been to seminary. I didn't feel qualified. But you know what? Just down in here, you probably felt something before. I just knew that I knew that I was supposed to do it. Some of you think, well, Joel, I'm just a businessman. I'm just an athlete. I'm just a coach. I'm just a teacher. Listen, you're not just anything. You're a child of the Most High God. God has an incredible destiny for you. I think to me, I look at it like, hey, this is our one shot in life. You know, where our life is like a mist. We're here, then we're gone. If God's put some stuff in your heart to take some steps of faith, you got to be bold and take those steps. And that's where you see God show out in your life.
Most people regret what they didn't do more than what they did. And I think sometimes you have to analyze, what is it that's holding me back? You know, and when you start putting it on paper, is it bigger than God?
Wow.
You know, is this thing bigger than God? Whether it's people told you can't. You know, a lot of people have that recording in their mind because people have told them what they can't do. And they felt oppressed, and they get this victim mentality. And, you know, God didn't create you to be a victim of your circumstances or a victim of a person or anything. Right. He's created you as a victor. He said, I've made you more, you know, than a conqueror. I conquered so you could be more. So sometimes we really have to evaluate, what is it that's holding me back? You know, sometimes we just let fear be fear so big that we don't even realize, what is it exactly? Let me just write this down, and let me just take some notes on this, you know. And I think that even in our life, you know, when you think about the things that would want to hold us back, if you put them down on paper, you're like, well, that's not bigger than God. That's not bigger than God. That's not bigger than God. So
at TBN, our mission is to use every available means to reach as many individuals and families as possible with the life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for helping make the gospel of grace go around the world.
Without you, we couldn't do it. God bless you.